It's my great pleasure to ask you to please welcome Aoife Gregg of United Airlines.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. United Airlines is always very happy and proud to partner with the Ireland-US Council for events here in Ireland and also in the United States. We are especially pleased to play a sponsor role in this evening's splendid occasion in the magnificent surroundings of Dublin Castle. United Airlines has served Ireland since 1998, and we offer non-stop services from both Dublin and Shannon to New York, Dublin to Washington Dulles, and seasonal services from Dublin and Shannon to Chicago. And now it is my great pleasure to hand over the microphone to Council Member Pat Walsh, Managing Director of Murray Consultants, who will introduce our Lifetime Achievement Award honoree.
Dr. Summers, ladies and gentlemen, really chuffed to be here and thrilled for Joe, whom I've known for over 20 years at this stage. Joe and I are of a very different vintage, but we have manned the PR trenches for over 2 decades, and I have to say I would consider him a wonderful man, really fine colleague, and certainly a mentor to me, and not just me, but actually not just a company, but an entire industry, because every agency that you touch and look at in our sector at some stage developed and evolved out of somebody who had worked with Joe, and he's just a master trainer, so absolutely chuffed to be here and introduce Joe. Some years ago, Sheryl Sandberg, the very well-respected COO of Facebook, got lots of column inches for coining a phrase of, I guess, recommending and suggesting to women that they get more involved and that they lean in. And I have to say, when I heard it, though Joe never coined the phrase, he did come to my mind, because the first time I met Joe, and certainly the first time that I worked with him in a client meeting, he demonstrated a phenomenal skill for getting the attention of his audience. And the more confused the meeting and the louder everything got around him, Joe would lower his voice, lower his pitch, slow his pace, until such time that Joe's voice covered, in a whisper, all of the noise that was going on in the room. And nobody needed instruction. You leant in. And you leaned in because it made sense and because you got value. And maybe the first time you did it for functional reasons, because you just wanted to hear what he was saying. But clearly, if you got value, you came back. And I guess that was the basis for a business that's now over 4 decades old. And Jim Milton, Joe's co-founder, established a business that effectively had clients coming back for more, and 40 years later are doing the same thing. I guess I would now invite you to lean in and welcome and acknowledge a most deserving recipient of the very prestigious Ireland-US Council's Lifetime Achievement Award, Mr. Joe Murray.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you, Mr. President, for your very kind words. Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Events like this signal the twilight of somebody's career. Facing this uncomfortable truth, I turned to one of the great sources of wisdom on this planet, Monty Python. The Pythons made us laugh at ourselves again and again. "I'm not dead yet," was one of their greatest sketches, and was the plaintive cry from an apparent dead body at the centre of one of their sketches. And he suddenly stuck his head up and said, I'm not dead yet. So I'm not dead yet. I'm here to give testimony to that fact. I may have retired from Murray Consultants, but I'm still alive and kicking. This historic hall was a centre of power over Ireland's fate for generations. Just 100 years ago, the power was challenged by people who took risks to give Ireland a new future. The Ireland-US Council is symbolic of a more recent and less violent, but equally far-reaching revolution. That revolution has seen Ireland develop into a modern, international, competitive economy that is a beacon of human values in the world. The bond between Ireland and the most powerful nation in the world is a very special one. It is acknowledged in the folklore about emigration and opportunity in the land of hope and glory. Groups such as the Council were key to stemming the tide of emigration. The influence of these groups saw rivers of investment, technology, and skill poured into this island. These were key to transforming Ireland into the confident, mature culture that characterises the country today. This transformation was led by institutions like the Industrial Development Authority. History will show the IDA as a key player in building the nation's modern fabric. They brought us business opportunities that were undreamt of in earlier protectionist generations. In particular, they brought new life and hope to many rural communities which otherwise faced depopulation. Abroad, these Irish institutions were led by true pioneers, such as Brian Stack, the Council President, and David O'Sullivan, Executive Director, who uprooted their lives and families to represent Ireland in America. They worked with legendary US business leaders to promote Irish-US business relations. It is just 55 years since the Council was founded by people close to John F. Kennedy, immediately prior to his visit to Ireland. Council's presidents, such as the late Mike Rorty of Budweiser, who for years was synonymous with the Budweiser Irish Derby, Dennis Swanson, president of Fox TV stations, the late Daniel Tully, CEO of Merrill Lynch, and Mike Gibbons, executive president of Estee Lauder, strove to build links between the two countries. The development of Murray Consultants, now known simply as Murray, is the story of this new era of growing confidence and optimism in Ireland. Murray was founded in the early 70s by Jim Milton and myself. We were able to ride the tide of economic development that swept the country forward in the decades since then. We took risks and we made mistakes. If you take no risks, you will accomplish nothing. We learned from experience, which C.S. Lewis describes as the most brutal of teachers. The great American satirist and humanist Kurt Vonnegut underlined this when he wrote about life's sometimes capricious nature. He maintained that in his life of chance and change, he practiced a disorganized religion and belonged to an unholy disorder, which he called Our Lady of Perpetual Astonishment. One of the smaller chance mishaps from which we learned lessons occurred in the early days of the company when we advised Apple Computers. We were managing the arrangements for the official opening of Apple's first plant outside of the US in Cork in 1980, and of the corporation's first board meeting outside of the USA. We even dealt with Steve Jobs personally, who was then a very young man. Dromoland Castle was selected as the location for the board meeting. We checked every detail in the castle to ensure the best for high-flying board members who arrived in Shannon in private jets, which at that time were quite a novelty. All went well until they tried to phone back to California. Only then did we discover, to our horror, that phone calls had to be booked through the local postmistress in the post office. She would note the number they were looking for, tell them to hang up, and that she would call them back when she succeeded in getting through. This usually took a long time. This was the last local exchange in the country. It was not cutting-edge technology and not designed to impress the board of a new-age high-tech company. The fact that we never operated as a family business ensured that opportunity was always open to high-calibre professionals. These principles were key to ensuring continuity to Moray. Pat Walsh was and is the key catalyst in a new generation of top-rate professionals, and he encapsulates all that is good about the firm. We're very proud of Pat and his team and the leadership path they are carving out in the communications industry today. Jim and I retain our links with the company as non-executive directors. In conclusion, I'm very proud to have my wife Maura and daughter Aisling here with me tonight. Maura is the rock of my life and has stood by me through all my madness over the years. I would like to thank Dr. Michael Summers, President of the Irish Board, and the Council for the honour that they have conferred on me today. It has been a great privilege to be associated with the Council since its foundation, and the Irish chapter is served so well now by Roddy Feely. Long may it prosper in promoting goodwill between our two nations. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. As President Michael said earlier on, so eloquently, the Irish Aviation Authority is absolutely delighted to toss some of our hard-earned cash at events such as this, and we're delighted to be here and proud sponsors of this beautiful event tonight in this beautiful place. For those of you not familiar with the IA, we are a commercial semi-state company with responsibility for the regulation of civil aviation in Ireland and the safety of Irish airspace and all who fly in it. We are also the provider of air traffic control services throughout the state. And last year, for example, we were very busy. We managed over 1 million flights, which is quite a lot of flights in Irish airspace. As chairman of the authority, I am very, very glad to tell you that we are a profitable, financially independent, debt-free, innovative company that is recognised as one of the leading aviation regulators and service providers in the world. And I'm very, very proud of our management and staff under the guidance of our Chief Executive, Eamon Brennan, soon not to be, because he got a wonderful new job as Director General of Eurocontrol. And I'm sure we'll all miss him greatly. I know I certainly will. With air traffic on the up and up around the globe, and with airspace technology continually evolving, as you can imagine, we are pretty busy these days. Now, whilst on the subject of the arts, I have the very pleasant task this evening to hail and salute outstanding portraiture. The award which is being presented tonight is an important part of the Council's programme to support the arts and arts education in Ireland. It comprises a bursary of €5,000 and is presented to an artist whose work is judged to be of outstanding merit. Many of you have seen this truly outstanding and intensely striking work of this year's winner, Blaise Smith, which was chosen from among the entries at the Royal Hibernian Academy Spring Exhibition held recently in Dublin. It is a portrait of 8 scientists who represent a new generation of Irish women doing groundbreaking work in various fields of science in Ireland today.
I want to say thank you on behalf of Blaise to the Irish US Council and also to Prudential and the RHA and the Irish Arts Review. It's my honour to accept the award on behalf of Blaise, but it's even more of an honour for Blaise. A few weeks or maybe months ago, he emailed us 8 women in the picture, and said, "Dear scientists, good news today. 8 scientists, the portrait has won the 2017 Irish US Council Outstanding Portrait Award. Naturally, I am very delighted. I have won everything at the RHA, but this major prize has eluded me until now. I am thrilled." So for Blaise, this was major excitement, and he sends his great appreciation. It was a great honour also for me to be involved in it. Obviously, something I never thought would actually happen. There's some scientific awards that I might say, oh, I'd love to win that or whatever, but I would never have thought, oh, I'd love to have my portrait taken. It's just something that I never, ever, ever would have thought would happen. And so it's really very special. But also, I wouldn't have thought that I would see a portrait of a contemporary or any female contemporary scientists. And so for that reason, it's very special to me and also to my daughters and to all the young Irish scientists coming up in the ranks, that they see it's something that's achievable. So then it just came to him that we should all stand in a row beside each other, looking, as he thought, like superheroes, and that we should represent the work that we do in science by an object floating in front of us, which he would call our superpower. And so that's how 8 scientists came to be.
Well, that was some presentation. Thank you very much indeed. It's most interesting. I certainly look at the portraits with much more interest on the way out. Because I wasn't sure who was in them at first, but that's great. Well done to all concerned. And it's certainly a novel type of portrait from previous ones that we've had here. Anyway, we move on from one branch of the arts to the other. We're now on to music. So we're delighted anyway that the Royal Irish Academy of Music are here again today.
Thanks very much, Michael. No, you won't be hearing me today, but it is my great pleasure, President Summers and council members and friends, to be here again to introduce our 2 performers. The programme is going to be a performance by one of our brightest young rising operatic stars, Robert McAllister, a bass baritone from Dublin. And he's accompanied by Lorna Horn, who is the chair of the senior examiners in the Royal Irish Academy of Music and an alumnus. I want to pay particular recognition and tribute to Robert's teacher, who is here tonight, the legendary Veronica Dunn, who is here tonight.
Once you have found her, never let her go. Once you have found her, never